Hi, thanks for joining me today. So, I just got this in the mail today. I ordered it on Amazon and it's it's from Motion Crafts by Uchi Designs, and it's one of their um, project kits, I guess, that cuts up the small envelope. And what's really cool about it is that it has a special stamp and animation grid, as they call it, and when you run one through the other, the stamped image animates a little bit. So it's pretty unique. It's kind of like, it reminds me of those old school sort of holographic lenticular cards where if you kind of tilt them just so, they have a little bit of an animation to it. When I saw this, and I think these were pretty big a few years ago because most of the YouTube videos I found online were from 2 to 3 years ago, but they're new to me. I've never seen these products before, and so I saw that this was a really great deal on Amazon, and I think it was definitely under $10. It might have been something like $5 or $6, and I thought, why not buy the one and just see how I like it. And I've already got a cart full at Motion Crafts to order if this turns out well and I fall in love with this idea. So I haven't made one yet, but I did do some die cutting in advance to prepare all of the pieces. So there's gonna just be a little bit of die cutting left to do, but hopefully this comes together really quickly. My thought is that this should hopefully, possibly, be able to fit a gift card. And so that's how I'm hoping to be able to use these. So let me show you what all comes in the little kit. So first off, the die set actually comes on a magnetic sheet, which I think is awesome. I don't know that many brands that include the metallic sheet to hold all of the dies. So I think that's pretty cool that they do that. In total, there's 11 dies, so you get the one large die, and that's gonna cut essentially your envelope. Then you have two sets of aperture dies, a rounded square and a circle, and you get two dies so that you can actually cut out both the aperture and a frame. And then you also get these two dies combined can cut out a sort of a pull-out tab, and you can kind of adjust it, the width of the tab, or if it's going this way, I guess the height of the tab. So these are all pretty multi-purpose pieces. You don't necessarily have to use them in this particular configuration for these types of cards. So I thought that was kind of nice. And then you've got this piece, which is the decorative layer that will fold over and cover the tab. And then they even have a die that cuts out a little thumb notch from your envelope so that if you don't have a tab that's sticking out, and instead you have a tab that's flush, the same size as the envelope, then you can notch out the end, and that way it's easier to grab onto the insert and pull that out. So, a very well thought out set of dies that on its own is going to be fantastic, especially if it can actually fit a gift card, which it might be just, it says it's 3.5 by 2 inches, the finished envelope, and I think standard gift cards might be a little bit taller than 2 inches, but we'll see if we can make it work. Okay, so you get this, then you also get one special stamp, and this is the kind of the stamp that will animate, and in this particular kit it's a heart. And then so that you can get started right away, they do include one sheet of what they call an animation grid, and it's a little bit hard to tell because it works better when it's actually stamped out. But you get one sheet of these. I've already cut into this because I've prepared a couple of pieces so that we can get started right away. But you get all of that. So you get everything that you need to make one of these envelopes with this little tab insert that will then animate as you pull out the insert. So let's get started. What I've already gone ahead and done in advance is I die cut out of just white cardstock this die, and that's going to be our envelope. So I've got that piece set. Then what I also did was I wanted to use this paper pad that I got also, which seemed pretty dirt cheap on Amazon. It's a Martha Stewart 6x6 paper pad, and I think this was I think it was less than $3, and it's pretty. It's got some sheets have a little bit of foil and lots of pretty designs, so love it. And so I cut a little matte layer so that I can matte the front of my envelope. And so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and attach these two pieces to each other. And I'm not going to put adhesive right over the center because the aperture is going to cut it out anyways, and then whatever falls through, I'll be able to just use that actually for maybe another project. So just going to line this up and get that down. Okay, and I will use the circles. Yep. So I'm going to use the smaller of the two circle dies. So they gave you two so that if you want, you can combine them and cut out a frame, but the actual aperture that you cut out of your envelope, you'll want that to be the smaller of the two if you end up deciding to frame it. If you don't want to have a frame around it, you could obviously just use the large one on its own. So that looks to be roughly centered. If you wanted, you could be a lot more precise than I'm being, but I think that's going to be good enough. And I'm going to use my prism, and lately I've been needing to add a little shim, so I'll do that. Pass this through. Hold on, a little bit. So good, perfect. So I've got that cut, and when you die cut the envelope, it does have score lines for the glue tabs. So see how that just falls out, and then I've got two cut a little bit of the adhesive, but I could use that for something else if I wanted. So now that's the front of my envelope, and I'm just gonna fold it along all the score lines. So give all of this fold, and I'll use my bone folder to give these a good burnish. So that's essentially gonna be our envelope, and I'll use some glue, or sorry, double-sided adhesive tape. I'm not gonna close this just yet because we're not there, but I just want to go ahead and get this on here while we're at it. Alright, so the next thing that I did was I've already cut a piece that's going to be our insert. So I cut it to, when I measured this, it's actually I'll grab my ruler now. I think it is just under 2¼ So it's almost 2¼ wide. So for the insert, I cut it at 2⅛ wide, and then this is about 3�5 long. So I just cut a sheet that was 2⅛ wide, and then I could cut it down to the length that I needed. And I did use the die that they provided, and I actually have both versions. So if you wanted, you could just cut out a square and then, notch out the corners so that it's rounded, or you could use this die on one end and then use this tabbed die on the other. So you've got some options there. You could make it just squared corners too. You don't even have to round the corners if you don't want to. So now here comes, I guess, the magic. So I'll go ahead and slide our insert in, and what I'm gonna do is with a pencil, I'm just gonna draw this circle, because what's going to happen is we're gonna stamp right here, we're gonna put our animation grid here, and that way when this is in the envelope and we pull it out, it's that movement of pulling it out is going to animate the heart stamp. So having drawn that, we know exactly where to stamp. And I'm debating whether, I'm going to use this one that is not, that way we don't have to cut the notch, the thumb notch. So I use the one that has the little tab, and I'll just do that again. I'm going to draw a little circle. And so now we're gonna stamp. So here's my little stamp. I'll put it on just this little block here. What's nice about these stamps is that they have a straight edge, although mine's not like 100% straight. It looks like it's a little bit wonky on the left side, but it's more or less a straight edge. And the reason why that's important is because these lines, whichever way the lines are going, whether it's vertical or horizontal, it needs to be straight. So, and it needs to line up with your animation grid. So if your stamp has lines that are vertical, you need to run your animation grid so that its lines are vertical as well. So, and they do have stamps that are oriented the other way, so it is something to kind of make note of. And then when you go to stamp, it has the nice straight line at the bottom, but you still want to make sure that you're stamping more or less, as much as possible, just straight up and down. And if you had something like a stamp positioning tool like the MISTI, that would be really great because that has grids on the door, and you could definitely line everything up. But these are small, and I'm gonna just try to see if I can eyeball this, just so that I can understand for myself anyways how precise you really need to be, because I feel like if this is gonna be like super hard to do in terms of lining it up straight up and down, it may not be something that I have the patience for. And that might kind of influence whether I get more of these, because they have a lot of different stamp sets that you can get that animate, and they have different sort of like card bases or project kits that you can get that have the different interactions and ways that you can open and close a card that would create the motion and the animation in the stamp. So there's like a pretty good variety on their website, and kind of eager to get them all, but I feel like if this is going to be like one of those really fussy things, then I may not find myself using it that much, so I don't really want to invest a ton in it. Okay, so I've got it stamped out. It looks fairly straight, and I'll just erase my pencil marks. I did use VersaFine, so I'm being careful not to erase over the where I just stamped, because this isn't going to be dry 100%. Okay, so we're going to use this on this envelope, and that's what we have so far. The magic isn't there yet, because that's only half of the story. The other half of the story is the animation grid. And so, actually, now that we do have this stamped, I can actually run this. So you can kind of see as I move the animation grid left and right, the heart blinks. So cool. This is so neat. And obviously I'm not holding everything super straight and moving it super straight, so I don't think it's super fussy. I mean, you definitely want to try to get everything to really line up as much as possible, because that's, gonna yield the most crisp image and the best result. But I think if you're kind of close enough, it might be okay. Alright, so I've also heard all the warnings that with your animation grid, again, it's something that you want to be as straight as possible. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get a little bit of double-sided adhesive, and I didn't give myself too much room here. I think I'm gonna have to use 1/8 inch. And this being such a small aperture and a small stamp, from the one sheet of this sort of acetate with the lines on it, what they call the animation grid, I would say I could probably get 6 cards out of it at least. Maybe more if I cut really frugally or strategically, I should say. Alright, so I've got all of this down, and let me go ahead and I'm kind of excited. The thing that I have been resisting to just go ahead and order, because this doesn't cost that much, and to be honest, their sets are fairly reasonably priced, especially for kind of the wow factor that you would get with these cards. But the I'm gonna use my mat since it has a nice grid, and then hopefully I'll catch a line in here that I can line it up with. What I'm really excited to get or buy is let me double check this should be up and down, right? Yeah. Is they have a die that actually cuts out this animation grid, and so you don't have to just keep buying these acetate sheets. You can die cut your own, and then not only can you die cut as many as you want once you have the die, but you can also die cut it out of different colors. That allows you to actually use different colored stamps to stamp with, and then you're not, because I was worried that to have just, this black dark, check that out. So I was worried that, just having this dark kind of black and white image isn't the most aesthetically pleasing on all card designs, and so I just wasn't sure how much I was going to love or how much use I was going to get out of investing in this system and buying a lot of their card die sets and stamp sets. But having the die that can cut out your custom animation grid out of any color means you can kind of stamp on any color. And you still can. I've seen videos where other people have used the acetate animation grids and stamped it with a different color, and it works, but the color is really subtle and it's very it doesn't have as crisp of an image as when you are able to match the animation grid to the stamp color, because those lines are what kind of fill in the image, and so when it's the same color, then it looks more solid and complete. So there's, how cute is that? So I did decide on a pattern paper that was a little bit grayscale, so that having the black and white heart image will go a little bit better. And then I also had already die cut out a couple of extra pieces for just a little bit of accent. So I've got the frame on here, so I'll go ahead and use a little bit of liquid adhesive to get this on. And then in addition, I also cut out this little tab out of the same, it's like a very kind of lilac color. So that is just gonna fit right over there, and it'll sort of match with my frame around the aperture. And I'm just gonna go ahead and use liquid adhesive here too. A little bit of my washi tape. Get that on. Perfect. I like that the die set sort of has everything that you really need to even dress up and decorate. So I partially, this isn't complete yet, but I just wanted to show the other option that you have. So here I used the rounded square aperture, and I also have the frame for that, and I did also already have this, so you could see with the thumb notches punched out, and thumb notch dies are super helpful. I find myself needing to punch notches all the time, and so if you don't have like a circle punch or anything like that, having this die is pretty helpful. You don't have to worry about like doing a partial die cut using a circle die. So that's kind of nice. And then also, one of the things that I found was when you cut out your rounded square aperture, the small one, that's actually large enough to die cut out the little decorative tab piece. So don't throw that away. I mean, you could use that on another project for something else too, but if you needed a tab piece, you could get it out of this square, which is what I did for that lavender piece that fell out of this one. So that's totally another option that you can use with these. And so the big question is going to be, can we fit a gift card on here? Ooh, just barely. It fits though. It totally fits. So you could put like some temporary adhesive, or I have glue dots that are temporary, and so you could totally put that on there. And then slide the whole thing in. Oh, it might be too thick. Oh, it's a tight squeeze. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna actually go in. Let me see. Oh, such a tight squeeze. I think, so here's the deal. I think that it could possibly work if maybe you give a little bit of extra room when like you scored an additional line on the glue flaps and gave yourself a little bit of extra room. So for example, I already folded this down, but I think I'm gonna try to do this one where I'm gonna score a little bit on the outside, and just because it's just barely, it'll fit in there, but I pinched this down so tight that that it doesn't fit anymore. So maybe on this one, well, I'll just do it. So instead of scoring, let me do this. I'm gonna put everything in here that I want to be in here. So it's gonna be the gift card and this. And I already prepared this for, oh, this is gonna be even easier. So I'll just take those off. And I did already put some adhesive here for the animation grid. So let me make sure I get my animation grid on here before I close this up. And I'll do the same thing. I'm gonna line everything up with my mat and then line up the grid. Oops. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so then this is stuffed with everything that I would hope to include. And then I'll close it. Oh, that's gonna work. Perfect. Oh, that's a lot easier than what I was thinking I had to do. So it's still kind of tight, but you can see the animation still works and everything fits in here. So, I mean, you'll want to attach this gift card to this pull tab, but now I have an envelope, a nice little gift envelope that we give a lot of gift cards for Christmas gifts and birthday gifts and stuff like that because I guess you could say we're lazy gift givers. I make a lot of handmade gifts and then we include a gift card along with it. So there you have it. So that came together pretty quick, and that was really my first time doing a full assembly of one of these. And I do think I'll go ahead and purchase more, and I have some ideas for what else these can be used for, and so I'm going to do a little bit more experimenting, but it's so fun. I know it's a little bit of a novelty, but I think people will really enjoy it and have a lot of fun with it. So I know I'm going to have fun making these cards. So I'm sure um the recipients will have fun playing with them too, especially since I have a lot of young nieces and nephews, which I think they'll really get a big kick out of these. Well, thanks for joining me. I hope that this has been a fun video, and as I get more of these products, I'll share with you the construction of them, and if I do come up with any fun and unique ways to use them, I'll be sure to share that as well. Thanks so much and stay safe. Have a fantastic day. Bye.